Pedro Shepherd here with us. And Mr. Shepherd, we are seeing the teachers are standing up with a boldness. I am telling you, it's almost as I have on here, we said from fear to fight, voices fighting back. And I feel the power of the teachers, man. I feel the power of the teachers, Rudy Level. I mean, I said, stand up, man, stand up. You know, I love it. You know, I love anything like that because I don't want them to think that we're punks. You know, Bajans are punks. We ain't no punks. And this man is kind of like a big man. And I love that. And so tell me, can you talk to us? You're a teacher. How long you've been a teacher, sir?
I've been teaching for just over 37 years at the primary level.
37
Uh,
years.
yes, I spent most of it at one school, that is the Cumberbatch Primary in the Point St. Michael.
And
I am currently the information technology coordinator there.
information technology
Technology
coordinator?
coordinator.
Wow. And
But my
what
history goes back to BUT.
yes, what BT?
My history goes back to the BUT. I served there as an executive member from 1996, and then I served as first vice president to Karen Best between 2003 to 2012, and then I served as its president from 2012 to about 2018, and then I went back and served again as president 2020 to 21. So I know what it is to be in the shoes, or to be in the position that Rudy Lovell is in, heading the Barbados Union of Teachers and facing the many challenges. As a matter of fact, if I may, the whole matter of the terms leave came about during my tenure as president at the Barbados Union of Teachers. So I know the history very well.
So you were president when that issue came up. So that means that would have
Yes,
been
please.
under this is what would have been
And,
under the DLP
and
government.
yes, I have correspondence in front of me dated 19th August 2014
Mm-hmm.
from the Ministry of the Civil Service in relation to that matter. So it is just about 11 years old. It started under the Democratic Labour Party government, as you were saying, and it continued for the last 6 or 7 years under this particular administration. So it is
And
not a hasty decision by the BUT to call teachers out. This is something that was going on for 11 years. You must come to a point where you say no more time, but we will take action.
mm-hmm. And I thought I'm trying to find I know you sent me something this evening and I probably read the date wrongly on it. I think I must have. This was a letter that you sent me, and this letter was what I thought it was a current date, but it must not have been.
Well, the letter you are speaking about is a response I received from the Ministry of Education. I
Mm-hmm.
applied for my third leave
Yes.
in December. The deadline for applying is December 31st. So in December last year, I would have
Mm-hmm.
applied for this term, for terms leave, April to September. Prior to that,
Mm-hmm.
I would have applied maybe 2 or 3 times between 2014 and now. But on this occasion, the response from the ministry read as follows, and I would like to read it.
Wait, just let me get it up on the screen, okay?
Okay,
Dave,
because
if
it
you
is, it
check
is
your
interesting.
WhatsApp, yes, the letter is in your WhatsApp, Dave. And he will put it up on the screen. And as he's putting it up on the screen, right. So okay, wow, that was really quick, Dave. Thank you so much. Right. So it's here. Go ahead, Mr. Shepherd.
Right. So I am being denied this leave because according to the Ministry of Education, I would have been granted and proceeded on leave before. Now, the regulations stated prior to 2014 when this came into force, it
Mm-hmm.
stated that teachers after 15 years of continuous service
Yes.
they were entitled to one term's leave, the equivalent of one term's leave,
Mm-hmm.
and every 5 years thereafter. So during
Ah.
the career of a teacher, for
Mm-hmm.
example, in my case, having put in 37 years, this should probably be my fourth or fifth term's leave.
Mm-hmm.
I've only had two, so I would normally every year I would apply 4 terms leave, and obviously refused. I don't think I got correspondence for the previous applications, but on this occasion, I got an application. I got a response dated the 16th of April, which is just a few days ago,
Mm-hmm.
and reference was made of the Ministry of Civil Service memoranda MP 6205, Volume 1, T3, dated 18th and 20th of August 2014, which basically stated that the suspension of terms leave for all persons, with the exception of those who are requesting for the first or last time, would be granted. Now, this came about because in 2014,
Yes.
the government was going through its economic challenges.
In
And
2014. Mm-hmm.
2014, the government was going through its economic challenges, and all ministries were asked to find ways to cut their budgets.
Mm-hmm.
The only, I don't let me say the only, but one of the ways chosen by the Ministry of Education at that point was to terminate or discontinue terms leave for teachers, and they also changed the whole setup of the diploma in education, the DEPET program at Eardiston,
Mm-hmm.
from being a full-time to a part-time course. And this,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, would have allowed them to save some money, because I think there are 250 teachers who would normally proceed on leave per term. I think
Okay.
there are 100 in the secondary and 150 in the primary. So if you allow these people to proceed, well, that's the maximum. But if you allow a person to proceed on leave, of course, you have to pay their replacements. So this was a way for the ministry to save funds. But in the BUT, when we were negotiating this, we thought it was just a matter of doing it for, let's say, a year or 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody contemplated then that it was something indefinite. And BUT would have challenged this from about 2016, when we realized that the ministry had no intention of reinstating this, to the point where we took a decision that this matter must go before the court. And the court took a long time, but it ruled eventually, maybe around 2018 or so, that this leave should be, the status quo ante, basically, should be restored, and that teachers should be granted their leave. So this is now about 6 to 7 years that the ministry has been dragging its feet on the court ruling. So BUT has all right at this point in time to take action on the matter.
Mm. If I could summarize, I mean, I didn't even know all of this detail here. Mr. Shepherd, thank you for being so clear on this. And listeners, I hope you are getting a better understanding on why they are having this out. And it's only fair, because I'm just going to review and let me know if if I have it all together. So if I follow what you're saying, the timeline in 2014, the country was going through some hard, economic, some rough times, as we were told. There was trouble all over the world. It was a global
Correct.
issue, and so ministries were asked to cut their budget, and the then
Correct.
the Minister of Education, along with the ministry, decided that they would discontinue terms leave for teachers
Correct.
temporarily.
Well, we thought it was a temporary measure.
Right, so that they could get over a hump, right?
Correct.
And
Correct.
that instead of sending teachers full time to Urdistan, they will send teachers part time
Part
as
time.
a way
Correct.
to cut the budget. Correct.
Correct.
And then in 2016, when you were president of the BUT, that you brought this up again, because now you realize all these years would have gone. It would have been 2 years, and you're not
Two
hearing
years.
anything else. They're not reinstating the terms leave, and so you brought this up as a matter of concern for the
Correct.
teachers you are representing. and then you went to court. What year you went to court?
I believe we would have gone to court maybe around 20, it's late 2016, 2017.
Late, okay, right. The same
And
20,
by
late
2018,
2016.
I think we had a decision by 2018.
You had a decision by 2018. So now
Yes,
we would
please.
have come out of the a DLP governance, okay, where and then you now move into a BLP government. And it is somewhere there in 2018 that you received the court is a order
Court,
from the court
court
or the,
or an order from the court. And
how,
what the ministry at that time, their excuse was that they did not get the court order in writing. So I
ah.
am going to assume tonight that that order has not yet been written. 6 years later, it has not yet been put in black and white. That's the only excuse
Wow.
the ministry would have at this point.
So from between 2016 to 2018, the court order, they're saying that they did not, it was not in writing.
It
We're
was
now
not in
at
writing.
2025.
Correct.
And a court order that was passed down or handed down in late 2016, people 2018, sorry, 2018,
18.
up until now. They all now they have not carried out what the court has decided in this case. Basically, this is what is happening, and you're going to tell me with all of this, Mr. Shepherd, there could be people on brass tacks who
I
are
heard them.
saying
I heard them.
that the teachers should not stick out. What if
I
what
heard
if
them
this
loud.
happened on their jobs?
Hmm. I think a lot of people don't understand the pressures of the job. Teachers, I heard people complaining or stating rather that teachers get a lot of vacation. Teachers work days from 9 to 3, which is 6 hours, and a whole bereft of things. I want to use the word nonsense at this point. A whole bereft of things I heard on brass tacks and so on. But they must remember that teachers plan during the course of the night. I'm sure teachers brought homework this evening to correct, to assess, to return to school on Tuesday, making sure that the students know where the weak areas were, where the strong areas were, etc. I am sure that teachers during the course of the most recent holiday for Easter, I can speak about teachers at my school, for example, spent the entire 2 weeks for the Easter break teaching class 4 children, making sure that they went through the mock exam, making sure that all the areas on the common entrance paper or likely to come on the common entrance were covered, and that they can at least get past a certain section of the paper. So teachers work through vacations, teachers work through the night, teachers work from early in the morning.
Mhm.
Teachers really have no holiday. And the argument that teachers get a lot of holiday, I dismiss that up front because it is on paper, but in actual fact, we do not get the holiday that is prescribed by the Education Act. And if teachers in this country stick slavishly to 9 to 3 and decide that they're going to take the holidays as prescribed in the Education Act, then you will hear noise all over the country about teachers finishing at 3 when parents now have to come for their children at 4 and 4:30, who they expect to be there with them and so on. Teachers babysit, teachers are doctors, teachers are lawyers, teachers are psychologists, teachers do every single profession you can think about. That is the role of the teacher during the course of the day. And I would love to see the day when parents are encouraged to come to the school and spend a day with children, not necessarily their children, because their children may respond to them in a certain way, but to come and see what it is to have 30 or 25 different personalities in front of you for 5 hours a day. 1 hour they're on the field playing during lunch and so on. About 5 hours, you have 25 or 30 different personalities. Some got asthma, some autistic, some have colds, some have fevers, some have toothache, some the tooth fell out. These are all issues teachers are faced with during the course of the day. We have to be social workers because we have to deal with the issues that these children have or they bring from home. The job of we really should be compensated a lot more for the job that we currently do.
Yes. So I want Dave to check his WhatsApp. Things are coming in. Dave, check your WhatsApp, and if you could kindly put up what you see in your WhatsApp, because I saw a WhatsApp message that was written by Miss Bradshaw. She is
The chief education officer.
the chief education officer. Thank you so much, Mr. Shepherd, the chief education officer. And I wondered, as soon as I read it, something in it was like, what is she really saying? So I would like to read it, and because I don't want to, I don't know if I'm reading too much into what I see there. I don't know if you know, but I only this year I didn't teach because I'm doing all of this activism.
Right.
But really it was hurting my chest. And as you said, you don't get any break. You get no
None
break. It's
whatsoever.
round the clock. It's round the clock, and people don't understand that, and they're not appreciative of it. But this, I want you to comment on this, and I want the people to comment on it as well, right? It says on Adrian, if Adrian can be listening and to be able to give a comment on this, Adrian Hines. It says, good night. Appeal from the Chief Education Officer,
Mm.
Dr. Ramona Bradshaw Archer. As you would have heard, teachers across the island will be on a sick out tomorrow. And I could hear the snarl in her voice. Oh, she gets to me. But anyway, you didn't say that. I said, I just can't. She talks like very condescending. Anyway, as we would have heard, teachers across the island will be on a sick out tomorrow. The chief is asking for you to help in going to these schools in particular for the day tomorrow, Friday, 25th April 2025. Please note that this opportunity can help propel you into an actual teaching post, as I am sure all of the volunteers will be noted for future reference. In addition, it will
Mm.
also allow you to develop your teaching skills and pedagogy.
Pedagogy.
Help me with the word
Pedagogy.
pedagogics.
Pedagogy.
Pedagogy. Please let me know if you're willing to assist and which schools are easy for you to go to. Belmont Primary, St. Lawrence Primary, and she's listing out all of them.
I guess you're
Just
listing the six schools that were closed. Now, honestly, this message from the chief is ridiculous. A school is managed, a primary school is managed by a principal, a senior teacher or senior teachers, subject coordinators, an early childhood coordinator, classroom teachers, etc. School meals workers, janitors, so on. Imagine Belmont School being closed on today, on Friday, and you're asking strangers to contact you to go to Belmont to become principal, senior teacher, class teacher, information technology coordinator, language arts coordinator, math coordinator for the day. What response do you think you would get from the students? Students will be traumatized, first of all, with seeing strangers coming into their school compound, entering their classrooms, and pretending, I would have to say, pretending to be teachers, to be principals, to be a senior teacher for the day. It makes no sense. I was told on Wednesday night, I saw a retired principal, and he told me on Wednesday night that the Ministry of Education, Educational Transformation, was calling persons from retirement. I believe some might have been on leave as well, to come out on Thursday and Friday to assist. Maybe I can live with that, but I do not understand how you will just take volunteers, take strangers and you want to entice them with the nonsense about developing their teaching skills and pedagogy and so on. Now, I know of persons who have been trying to get into the teaching service of Barbados for in excess of 10 years. They have been to Erdiston, they have done the early childhood course at Erdiston, they have done Easter courses at Erdiston, some of them have done the certificate in education, a whole range of things. Some of them are in the schools as parent volunteers, some of them are in the schools as the school assistants, and you cannot find a job for those persons who have been making every effort for 10 years to become a teacher, but you are going out on the streets of this country to rake up, so to speak, 100 or 120 persons to spread across 6 schools. I've never heard so much nonsense coming from a chief education officer in this country. None that preceded her would have made such a comment, and I don't think that we'll have any that will follow her that will make such a comment. And I am disappointed in my chief education officer bending to this level to think that she can replace qualified teachers in this country with the average man on the street. Then it says to me really what we can look forward to in terms of education transformation in this country. If that is what we are going to do to our children, then we can understand and appreciate why we have not had education reform in this country for the last 6 years, even though it was the major plank on which this particular administration, I'm not being political, but which this particular administration came to office. From day one, the former Minister of Education preached transformation, followed by her predecessor, preached transformation, hired a consultant on transformation, met with teachers all over this country about educational transformation, and now we have a third Minister of Education preaching transformation again. But the truth of the matter is that the Ministry of Education, as it was then, the Ministry of Educational Transformation as it is now, really has no idea of how they can reform this country, the educational system in this country. I remember when I was at the BUT, we had proposed the whole idea of middle school. They did not accept our position then, but subsequent to our pushing that middle school thing, they came up with their middle school and their schools of excellence, which is now in the waste paper basket, by the way. The idea has now been thrown out. We came up as well with a new teacher service commission, which would be responsible for appointed teachers, disciplining teachers, all of that. Those are things that could have transformed the education system in this country. But rather than take on board what the unions were proposing, they took the unions' ideas, put them one side, and seek international persons to come into this country to tell us how to reform education. And that's why we're having the problems that we're having. So teachers will stick out because you are delaying a simple process for 11 years. Your excuse is that you are negotiating. What are you negotiating after 11 years? You mean every time a minister comes into the ministry, negotiation must begin over and over again? Maybe that is the policy. So each minister you have, negotiation must start first. If government is a continuum, then I'm saying to Barbadians that this matter should have been dealt with prior to 2018, during the last administration, because that would be 4 years, and now this administration, 6 years, the matter should have been dealt with. So the BUT should not have to be putting out teachers to get a response. And I will say this as well, because it is ironic that the current permanent secretary in the Ministry of Education, who prior to this minister coming into the ministry was deputy PS in the Ministry of Education, Technology, vocational training, whatever it was before, And she was also, prior to coming to the Ministry of Education, second in command at the Ministry of the Civil Service. As a matter of fact, the letter that was sent to me, the memorandum that was sent to me, is signed by the current permanent secretary. So the current permanent secretary is well aware that
Mhm.
since 2014, this matter was before the Ministry of the Civil Service. She was second in command then. Recently, she came over to the Ministry of Education, so she had this matter on her desk for about 10 years. 10
Yeah.
out of the 11 years, it was on her desk. So you come to the ministry after having it on your desk at PAD, Ministry of Civil Service, for 10 years. You come to the Ministry of Education for 7 months or more, matter still before you, and you are saying to BUT tonight that negotiation must continue. Well, I am saying to the Barbaration of teachers that represent me and other teachers in this country that if a decision is not taken on terms leave by Tuesday, that we should continue the action because a result must come in the shortest possible time.
Yeah. How are the children? The teachers are not thinking about the children. So hold a minute. His nomination day is on the same day as the common entrance exam. Is that true? Or am I reading that wrong?
Nomination day being the 6th, that is a Tuesday. I think I think the common entrance is on the 6th of May, a Tuesday, if I am correct. But it would hardly affect the school, and the nomination can take place at any center, so it might not necessarily disrupt school. There might be some parents who might want to be present for his nomination and so on, but it's not going to disrupt the school as far as I gather. It is just a simple process of filling out the papers and making sure your money is paid in and so on. And any other day would have been a school day in any case because the term has now started. Any breaks in this, unless they had pushed it down to the midterm break, which would probably strategically not be um, appropriate. So I don't have an issue with it being on common entrance day. I don't think it's going to disrupt the system.
Hmm. Probably just for those parents, who might want to be involved in that,
Yeah, yeah.
and so on.
But the
But
children, the children will be at school and they'll be taught. Those who are
mhm.
doing common entrance will go to the common entrance. The parents will drop them off there, and then they can go to the nomination and come back and pick them up and take them to wherever they're going to celebrate after
Wherever
the
they're
common
going to
entrance.
going to
Yeah,
going to set up, right?
yeah,
So someone brought that to my attention, and I just people just need to know, at least they can plan that it's the same
yeah,
day. those
yeah.
those parents who are things. So thank God you're here and you can let us know, because I thought that it was a problem.
No, if,
It
if it was if it was election day, it might have been more disruption, but
I
just
see.
nomination day wouldn't be
Makes
that much of a
sense.
disruption.
You were saying something, Mr. Shepherd, before we got cut off.
Yes. So you're hearing me now?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Right. I was just making the point that the minister would have met with two groups of teachers, from those from the north and those from the southern, or the central part of the country, since becoming Minister of Education. And I was just making the point that he is somewhat charismatic. He is a listener. He has some ideas, but like I said to him then, that he's only the minister, and those ideas would have to go through the Ministry of Education, the PS, and down the line, Chief Education Officer, etc., technical persons. And it would also have to get the blessings of teachers in order for
Mm-hmm.
these initiatives to really take root. And like I
Mm-hmm.
said to him then, elections due maybe a year. He would only have a year to put all these things in place, which I knew was going to be impossible. But he wanted to rush. I believe he wanted to rush things along, and he retorted very often about real talk, and he will get this done and he will get the next done because he's a mover. He can move things. If you look at him, you'll see that he can move things around.
A big
But
plate of food.
he would have his challenges. since those meetings, I noted that the permanent secretary was shifted. I don't know if she was shifted as a result of him or she was shifted because she was needed elsewhere. But I took special note of the fact that the permanent secretary who sat in the meeting with the teachers then was shifted to another ministry last week.
Mm.
So I don't think that he will get anything done, honestly, in the Ministry of Education over the next year or so. He needs to sit down, take some time, listen to the teachers, listen to the other stakeholders in education, listen to the teachers' unions, see what challenges they had over the last year, 2 years, and look and see what he can chip off. But to just rushing and believe that you can move the earth to please, it is not going to work.